Hey everyone, and welcome back to another weekly catch-up podcast. It is episode 58 of the weekly catch-up podcast. This is kind of a impromptu stand-up show that we're doing on Sunday, November 22, 2020. We'll be releasing it either tonight or tomorrow, folks, but wanted to give you a quick moment to digest not only the weekly catch-up podcast number 58, but also your Thanksgiving meals upcoming. So in that spirit, I'm your host, Carson Gibbons, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. B. Rad Colvin.
That'd be me.
You ready for Turkey Day?
Oh, man. So ready. I got my stretchy pants already packed.
Chancho, bring me my stretchy pants.
Sometimes, man, wear stretchy pants. Get that corn out of my face.
Man, I'm like, we could just do this the whole time.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is when he goes, he's like, what is the topping that he puts on the salad? And he's like, do you not know that I have had diarrhea since Easter's? Don't you know?
Oh, man. I haven't seen that movie in a minute. We're talking about Nacho Libre here, people, at the top of the episode.
Yeah, if you don't know,
it's
then
only going to get better from here.
If you don't know, turn the podcast off. Don't listen again, please. Unsubscribe. We would appreciate that. All right, Mr. B-Rad, you ready to get into it?
Yeah, man. Let's get it.
It's the weekly catch up with Carson and Brad. Here to talk about the week we done had. It could be sports, religion, politics, we keeping the tabs. You would think they work for Gucci, how they deep in they bag. Get your facts up, on Wednesday we'll be counting the stats up. So turn the volume up till it's maxed up, you know the drill. So tell a friend to relax up and chill, we back up. This is the weekly catch up.
Dude, I've been looking forward to doing a weekend weekly catch-up podcast because I feel like this 4-5 day media cycle from like Wednesday till now, like all the good stuff that's going to happen for this week it's happened.
It's already happened, right?
It's time to report on it while it's still kind of fresh and top of mind, and we're also not coming out of the craziest workday ever.
Yeah, I definitely feel this is the most well-rested I've felt in months.
Really?
Prior to recording. Feel great. Slept till like 10:30 this morning.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
I did too. I went to bed at 5:30, so that's an issue.
Jeez, happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. I actually had a good relaxing weekend. It was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah.
On Friday, man, get this. So Friday was my real birthday.
Yeah.
And I've got a big pitch I'm going into, and right before that, I get the RIP text from my grandmother that her late husband's sister, my Aunt Joanne, had passed that morning. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is, we were not like the closest, but I think we developed a rapport. Like I thought she was hilarious.
Right.
She had some real gems, some real, honest outlooks and kind of takes on the world that really cracked me up. The last time I saw her, we went to the George W. Bush Presidential Library at SMU together.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure we posed in front of the... Have you been there?
I can't recall.
You would... It's at SMU campus?
I don't think I have.
Should definitely check that out. They do like different seasonally themed like history stand-ups and different things like that. So like in 2016, they had like the history of the election debates and different things like that. And like you could walk this... like continuum on the floor that showed you all the different Republican and Democratic contenders for office, like during the time periods. And then you could go sit on like a little couch and watch like a 1960s television that was broadcasting like the JFK debate.
Oh yeah.
And it was really eye-opening to see like, oh, a lot of this crap that's been going on recently, it's been going on forever.
Right.
Anyway, definitely check that out.
For sure.
But that was the last time that I'd seen her. So, wanted to give a shout out to that side of the family. Hope that y'all are dealing with this, and she's in a better place, and just RIP and well wishes, because that saddened me for sure. I was like, this is so 2020. Like, the day you're celebrating like your birthday, you get news like that. But anyway, It was a crazy hectic work day, but closed a bunch of deals,
Of course you did, man.
Felt pretty good.
Well, what?
Not anything better than that on your birthday or any day, really.
Yeah.
So did that. Was just exhausted after the day. Had so much going on. My parents came down. They took me to Lucky's Cafe, which I've been to with you.
Yes.
It was my mother's first time to attend, so we were excited to take her over there. And then ran back home, set the alarm, because my dad took me to Indian Creek Golf Club.
Oh, I think I saw some pictures from that.
First thing Saturday morning, we teed off, and it was a nice course, a course that I'd never played, and I hadn't played in probably a month. So I told some of the team that, hey, I'm going to be golfing in the morning because we're kind of working weekends sometimes. And so I felt good to be out there, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
Got to do that, and so I had a lot of fun.
How'd old Bob do?
He's good. Like,
yeah, I saw that nice swing that you posted on Twitter.
Yeah, like I was telling him, like if you just kind of play like a sawed off, pragmatic, old man, how they just kind of develop their little swings. And I'm not saying that he's an old man, but I'm saying that's the game that I adopted prior to adopting my new swing.
Sure.
So anyway, we both played pretty terribly from like a numbers perspective. I had some amazing shots. Like I was on a par 5 and 2 on the green in 2. And I think that might've been the first official time that I've ever gone tee to green in 2 on a par 5 and actually been on the green.
Yeah.
Like over the last couple of months, I've been able to like get in the bunker by the green or just get it over the, the ravine or whatever is occurring. But to see it on the green, I hit my little 5-wood from 195.
Dang.
And I was like feeling myself. It was really fun.
Yeah. That's great, man. Well, sounds like you guys had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. How were your Scorpio birthdays this weekend?
Oh, it was awesome. Friday night, I took Kortney. I was like 2 minutes from here, actually. The mansion at Turtle Creek.
Oh, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy. Oh, wow, Brad. Man, Brad. Man, okay.
What's up?
Just that's real game right there.
That restaurant, it was incredible.
Because I feel like most open table peasants aren't aware of like the mansion.
I did my research.
Know enough to, because that's like, I mean, that's probably one of the oldest Dallas money institutions you have access to.
Yeah.
Really, like if you're going to go have a steak dinner somewhere, the mansion or Albernays or something like that's the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I booked that like a month and a half ago. So we were good to go, and the food was just incredible. Had some delicious appetizers, got that cheese plate, and
I wasn't about it.
Steak,
No.
Maybe into the cheeses, huh?
I think maybe I was on a different seasonal menu or something, but I got taken for my birthday.
Okay.
A couple years ago, and man, I thought it was so boring. Like, it didn't have that festive environment.
Sure.
Myself.
Yeah.
Now, for you guys, like, I don't know, how would you describe it? Because it's not like your typical restaurant that you go to, even typical steakhouse.
It was nice, like somewhat intimate, because it's not a huge room. I mean, the lighting was great and everything. Kortney loved it. We both got kind of dolled up and dressed nicely and went out there, and we both loved the food. So we had a great time.
That's awesome.
Our waitress was really cool. It was really interesting. Like all the staff, they were wearing masks and the face shields.
Oh,
so you felt like extra protected.
Well, you're at the mansion,
right? Yeah, I don't know. It was
the way that I thought about it is that when I describe it as boring, I don't mean that it's boring. I mean that compared to like your modern American cuisine kitchen,
it's not like super pizzazz.
It's like the nicest restaurants that they display in the movies where everyone's wearing a suit.
Yep.
And it's like a nicer table, like a fireplace. Like,
yeah.
It's one of those. I feel like that's one of probably the nicest, most exclusive dinners I've ever been to.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah. It was wonderful. So,
wow, dude, props to you.
Thanks, man. So we did that Friday night. Saturday morning, we took it over to Fort Worth and had brunch at Yolk. Just a really nice brunchy place. If you're into brunch,
where's that at?
It's like it's on the street where the Fort Worth courthouse is.
Okay.
Yeah, right on the corner. Super delicious. Got to hang out with some of her friends. I invited Gerald and his girl, and let's see. Then we went to her apartment. We're going to be out of town for Thanksgiving. We're going to go to Austin and visit my mom. So before that, she wanted to like set up her Christmas tree, so it'd be ready to go as soon as we get back from Thanksgiving. So we decorated her Christmas tree, and then we went and had like an early dinner at her parents' place, because if you guys don't remember, we just moved her into her new apartment this past Thursday. And so we've just been setting that up. And so we went over to her parents. My dad and Shelly came over, and we all had a nice little dinner there. And then we had Friendsgiving at, Molly Daniels and her man, Bruno. We went over to their place and had Friendsgiving. Gerald, Gavin, and some other people were there. Got to celebrate. The food was delicious. We ate so much yesterday. I'm dressed in a t-shirt and basketball shorts because as soon as we're done here, I'm probably going to go exercise because I just feel a type of way after eating all that food over the course of this weekend.
Did you have anything today?
I had Whataburger today. You know
nasty.
that. You know that.
So you feeling bloated? So you're like, I know what'll go over with this bloat. Some Whataburger.
Yeah. Well, there's like a Whataburger that's really convenient on my way to your place.
Whataburger's so thick though. Like, their food is like the same number of items from Whataburger is not equivalent to like McDonald's, for instance. Like,
that's fair.
If I remember I think I told this story like my first time going to Whataburger. And I'm ordering like I'm at Mickey D's. And so I'm like, give me that
3
triple
doubles.
I'm going to need another cheeseburger. And, then I get it. And I'm like, this is hearty.
Yeah.
So I just had to eat all of it still and power through.
Just got a patty melt and some fries and came over here. So
what a burger.
Yeah, man. So it was a wonderful weekend. Got to spend it with, friends, family, and did my favorite thing that my favorite pastime, celebrating Kortney. So.
Oh my goodness.
You know me, baby.
But I'm done. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Does she even listen to the show?
No, and we actually just talked about this. So Shannon and Austin, we had them on the podcast 3-4 weeks ago. They were at the brunch, and somehow we started talking about the restaurant, and Kortney's asking, well, why is it named O'Maline's? Or somebody asked, and Kortney's like, oh, I didn't know that. And I'm like, and Shannon's like, oh, you didn't listen to our episode, huh? And I was like, hey, let's keep it that way. Like, we don't need to push her to listen, because that means I get to gossip and I won't get in as
you're like, in
trouble.
real life, she doesn't even know I like her yet. Don't have her listen to episodes 1 through 57.
Yeah, but just in case I ever want to sneak in like a little plan that I have for her.
You're like, outside of the show, I'm still playing it pretty cool. Right. I'm playing it close to the chest.
It's pretty casual.
This mansion stuff is just for the show.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Man, you didn't tell me that you'd lined up the mansion, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was great.
Look at you, just balling out of control.
Yeah. That's what it is, man.
What did that? Well, since she doesn't listen, what did it run? You don't have to tell me.
I can tell you off mic.
Because I've had like a couple $150, $180 dinners here recently that are like, they're kind of expensive.
Well, I'm going to tell you, like, we got 2 appetizers, 2 main courses, and 2 desserts. So
a couple spends.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever spent more than $200-$300 on like a nice outing meal like that.
Yeah, it was over 2.
Jeez, yeah. Mansion is probably the most. I mean, I'm thinking about like Albernays. If you were going to go like, I don't know, 10, 12 ounce even, you order a la carte, which is awesome because it's like family style. But the mashed potatoes are going to be more expensive, but they could feed probably 2 people, 3 people.
Yeah. Well, like, I've never been in a relationship prior to this one where my significant other like goes above and beyond. Like I've always felt like I was the best gift giver in the relationship. But Kortney, like you were at my birthday party in the summer, her like renting out the Airbnb space and getting fuzzies to, catering and different things like that, and just planning it all out. And so she's kind of, forced my hand and made me up my game. So, I had to do her justice and make sure that she was treated well all weekend. I also made like a surprise video for her. She has friends whenever that like live in Austin, and she doesn't even like, I've never met any of her coworkers at Temple, but I found them online and messaged and had them like wish her a happy birthday and put together a nice little video for her, for a lot of her loved ones. And so I'm she's just making me up my game.
Man, y'all just set the bar so high in the first year where it's like in 20.
After this, like we just got
20 when you're like, you want breakfast in bed? And she's like, you know what you used to do? I'm talking the mansion, Playboy.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
She's like, where's my curated video? You're like, I'll curate these eggs for you.
Hope you like them scrambled, because that's all I know.
Yeah. I don't even know how to make scrambled eggs sometimes. I had scrambled eggs for my birthday dinner. I had breakfast for dinner.
Nice.
My parents, so check this out. They got me the most hilarious card. Maybe I should look for it, but I'm trying to think about if I want to read it or not. But they got me a nice gift. Like they got me an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because apparently my mom had gotten it maybe earlier this year and was sitting on it for this occasion or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And then she was listening to that episode where I was like, yeah, I'm not about that life. I don't want one of those. And she was like crestfallen, apparently.
Oh, man.
And so she was like, you can exchange it for credit. And I was like, no. I need you to know. Like, I've kind of turned the corner on this. Like, I want one. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, no, those Apple Watches are awesome. So
she got me a cool black matte Apple Watch. So
that's what's up.
Interested to start doing those biometrics more. Mm-hmm. I think the version that I have doesn't get like the EKG or what. Like I looked at, there was a couple things that were less relevant to my day-to-day health that I was looking to track that would be available on, I guess, a 6 or something. But I don't care about EKG. What is that, like your heartbeat or something?
Yeah, they say it's not supposed to be able to predict like a heart attack or anything like that, but I think the technology is trying to get it to where they eventually can. I don't know. It checks your heart rate and will let you know if you need to kind of chill out a bit, maybe hit up your meditation.
Dude, that would actually be really convenient if it just started a countdown clock timer in the background where it's like, hey, you've got 11 years, 4 months, 30.
I think you're thinking of the movie Time or In Time featuring Justin Timberlake.
I don't know. That's just the scary thing as like men and, stressed out white men that, dude, we can die at like 40, 50. Yeah. Just like that. Drop of a hat.
Right.
Like we all know people that have keeled over. My grandfather had his first, like, I think it was quadruple bypass surgery at age 49 or something. So I don't have a good track record on at least one side of the family.
Yeah. I mean, as stressed as I get and me down on Whataburger every time I'm heading this way, like, I'll probably be due one in like 10 years as well. So I'm right there with you. I wish we could predict that, Like, why me? As I'm like downing a large fry and patty melt.
You're like, I've been so good running the last 2 days.
Right.
I don't know.
Just
like
trying to counteract it, man.
Honestly, like there's a lot of, if you talk to, like, let's say if you were on the dating scene, I feel like a lot of the things that people share with one another are their potential diseases that they're very likely to get, I feel like girls are always like, I'm at, extreme risk of breast cancer or whatever. And really the guys are like, oh, really? That sucks. Like, and we don't know what we're at risk for, but really it's like, well, I'm at risk of being a degenerate, of having heart failure, of getting pancreatic cancer and just piecing out in like 90 days. Like there's a litany of different top killers on both genders and different demos that we
just overlook.
Like as a society. Yeah. Cause we're all eating from the same trough. And I don't know, like, you ever watch that? Is it Pyrex or what was the Tupperware? documentary where they realized that they were putting harmful chemicals not only into the Tupperware, but also into the lungs and all of that of their factory workers.
This was the first I'm hearing of it, so I don't know.
It's pretty dramatic and alarming in that this docu-series like opens up and there's an old boy, and
An old boy.
Like
He's just a good old boy, or
well, I don't know how to describe him. I can't really remember.
Because when you say old boy, like I don't know the age in which I'm supposed to picture this.
He was 40s, 50s.
Oh, okay.
But
so he's a good old boy.
He had a pretty twisted around deformity for his face.
Got it.
I don't remember if it was like one main big eye or what was going on, but he was pretty messed up.
Got it.
And he was talking about how he was the offspring of one of the Tupperware factory workers.
Oh,
and
man.
Yeah, and so that was when it was revealed that this harmful chemical that not only went into these factories and these plants, and the workers were at an accelerated risk of being around, but it's now in 99% of human systems due to, like, think about from the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, like when they built a new, Tupperware thing or a new skillet, for instance, to fry in, everybody got that.
Yeah.
We used to all have the same plates in like 5th grade. You know what I mean? Like, you had a couple different options. I love those memes that they're highlighting those. Like, which ones did you have?
Yeah.
So if there's something harmful in one of those product lines, like it could be global.
Did you ever have, sorry, this is off topic. Did you ever have those Looney Tune cups? Like it was the face.
Yeah.
I saw that trending on Twitter. I thought I was the only one.
No.
I didn't know that they were that popular.
I had
Sylvester.
Who was was it Tasmanian Devil or something?
Yeah.
I remember those.
That's crazy. I didn't know that was like a popular thing, but like you were saying, everybody had the same thing. There was like 1 million retweets on Twitter. I had no idea that everybody
for
owned
sure,
those.
bro. You know what? We're not special at all. Like there's nothing unique.
You're right.
Like I love those throwbacks
you're unique like everyone else.
Yeah. Did you ever go to a pool party and have a Capri Sun and maybe mac and cheese with hot dogs in it?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that not the greatest day ever?
Yeah, of course it was.
Turns out we all did it. Everybody in suburban America did that.
Yeah.
We used to have a Lazy Susan full of like branded cups where, when you graduated from the sippy cups, just the basic primary color with a suction cup lid, you could graduate to like the Looney Tunes cups and the Texas Rangers cups and Dickie's barbecue cups. Like there was just, people seem to used to do that a lot. Cups were a big thing.
The Dickies cups, the Rudy's,
just something for everything.
Yeah.
Remember going to the theme parks and they're like, yeah, but if you pay $8.50, you get to keep the cup.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, and haul it around all day.
Terrible. Yeah, and then you end up forgetting it and leaving it. Yeah, not worth it.
It's just got that like curly twisty straw that bends off in the wrong direction after its first
But you can
use.
bring it back and get free refills. Meanwhile, it's like the last week in August and they're about to shut down for the year.
They're like, just buy a season membership. And I'm like, I'm drinking $800 Cokes right now.
Yeah. How often are you going, man?
Yeah, I'm like, how early do you want me to die? Like, man, when you start kids off on those curly strawed like Cokes like that, they're gonna die.
Yeah,
that's just not
pumping sugar into them like at 3 years old.
Well, and caffeine and
kids don't stand a chance these days.
Man,
between technology and just like what we feed them.
I don't know how it's going for kids nowadays. Really young, like 0 to 10 type deal.
Because me, like I'm getting them when they get to high school, but I already see the effects of technology being in their lives and
how so? Expound upon that.
Just trying to keep their attention, like while I'm teaching my lessons, they have to constantly be doing like. Whenever they're home, they're playing video games, they're watching Netflix while they're scrolling through social media, while they're on their laptop, FaceTiming, having a group FaceTime with their friends. It's just insane trying to keep their attention.
I feel like I grew up in the last, 0 to 10 generation that didn't have like we had Brick Breaker on like
we had that in Snake, and we were at this really interesting point where we're coming up in our youth having been on both sides of the fence, and like ever since then technology has just been like exponentially growing, like getting crazier and crazier. I feel like we were the last remnants of, the time before.
I mean, little bit, just that's just a fact if you look at the timeline of everything, because I distinctly remember, I think it wasn't until I was probably 9 or 10 years old that, I had my first like AOL account.
AIM.
Like I remember dialing up. I remember throwing my mom off of. I threw her off the phone one time, dialing into the computer, and she was not happy about that.
Yeah, man. The texting, like going over your data plan, because you only got 100 texts a month or something ridiculous like that.
I'll never forget like holding that brick phone, that first brick phone that I got, like in bed, and just being like, I have everything.
Yeah.
I have all the power.
Right.
I'm going to call people. I can't believe I could call them right now if I wanted to.
Well, actually, they'll have to call me because I already went over my minutes. But if they call me, it doesn't count for some reason.
There's something to be said there, though, that, there was a famous like internet. I don't know if it was like Tom Edison or one of these. It wasn't him, but it was one of those old timey guys that was making predictions. And he was saying that there would be a network where it would operate like the mail, but you would send it in the moment and expect for it to be received at a later date. And it would just go into a queue. So like the idea of immediacy with our technology, when you first got that first cell phone, you could call somebody now. I remember like the first one, it was difficult or impossible to text. So now we're sending things in a multi-application situation where we're on Parler, we're on TikTok, we're on
Shoutout.
We're just doing all of that stuff. And the app spread, I think, is what the younger generations are accustomed to from their childhood, which is what I still struggle with. Because like when I'm straddling Zoom, email, text, I'm getting a call. My other computer is accidentally FaceTiming in because it's synced, and I'm on this other third party. Like, it's overwhelming to me. And I think that the people that always grew up with this, they're going to be at a different advantage in certain ways.
Well, and it's also just crazy because there's so many different social media platforms that are popping right now. And so back then, it's like either, call me and leave a voicemail or email me. And now it's like, oh, dude, you hit up my Snapchat. You should have, messaged me on, you should have DM'd me on TikTok or hit me up on LinkedIn or Facebook. You should have sent that invite on Facebook. It's just crazy. Like, because there's not just one platform that people predominantly use.
No. And it's hard to understand, like, which ones are you on? And then as a society, how do we prioritize these platforms in terms of like, which ones are the respectful ones? We know Dean abuses LinkedIn. Most people don't. Most people think of that as like professional. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's doing Parler in LinkedIn and I love it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dean. But the point being that there's such a hybrid, like people don't know whether to add each other on Facebook at work when there's also Facebook at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything is interconnected now. So it's like, well, what is my naughty channel? What's my professional channel? What's my family channel? And they all blended into one.
Yeah.
Just a landscape.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And from a remote working professional standpoint, it's like, well, it's a weekend. What if there's going to be communication? Do I need to return communication if it's emailed to me? Is email the softball toss? Or what if I get a Slack? And then what if I get a Slack in a group channel and I'm not singled out? It's just at channel. Yeah.
Do you have an obligation to? Yeah, because we use Slack up at school, and so I'm always.
Do you? So do you have different groups?
That's our main. Yeah, that's our main form of communication. We have like an all faculty channel, and then full time, and then I have a couple just with some coworkers where we send teacher memes and stuff like that. But yeah, that's like our main forum. And so it's like, okay, do I at least have to like give this a thumbs up so they know that I, saw it? And it's just,
what a phone call
etiquette,
is.
A
phone call is still the most immediate, like,
Yeah.
I need to speak with you right now.
Right.
Type situation. I feel like a text is pretty direct. An email is probably behind a Slack for me. An email says to me, like, take your time, think about this.
Yeah. Give it a week.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, people that are thoughtful about their approach to people that might have that struggle on a weekend or something like that. They kind of set like some sort of callback, like, hey, don't worry about this weekend, but something to look into starting on Monday. But with COVID, and I was walking around the neighborhood early last evening and saw a guy like up on his balcony, like all plugged in. I was looking at people in like the little office in the apartment. There was all plugged in doing demos and all this stuff. And, you know, I don't know what the etiquette is with, especially as services go globalized and like internet connected, like every single day is a commerce day.
Yeah, definitely. Just talking about technology and stuff and how that's kind of changed. Do you know what Zoom has killed for schools?
What?
The snow day.
Oh yeah, that's so true.
It's like, okay, we've been doing distance. I don't care if it's snowing. Like, you're in your home. We've been doing this. We're gonna keep it rolling. It has killed the snow day.
Man, that is so true.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
Well, it's killed the whole idea that you have to be there or that the teacher has to be there. Like, or you could swap places. Half of them could be here, half of them could be there. Like, but if you're internet connected, you know, really, if you're internet connected and self-driven, you know, half the kids that like educate themselves for the most part on like code and different things like that, like they're going to get so far ahead.
Yeah, it's like your roof caved in. Okay, well, step outside. You have your phone. You can click this link.
Man,
keep it pushing.
That is the hard part, though. Like, I've been at home on demos and landlord comes knocking or something, and it's like, well, if this is an important demo, it feels kind of like stupid to have to say, sorry, Amazon's at the front door.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That's pretty techie of y'all to be using Slack, though. Like, I've heard of teachers and faculties using Microsoft Teams for sure, or adopting it because of COVID. But the fact that you were already on it, like, your whole suite of tools seems pretty bleeding edge.
Yeah, I think we have like half pretty young teachers, and then the rest, you know, are honestly like on their way to retirement, like within the next year to 5 years. And so the younger ones, like, we knew about Slack and we had been using it last year, but then we decided to try to push it onto the entire faculty to use as our main form of communication, just because it's nice. Not everybody has an iPhone or an Android, so, you know, messages get kind of weird whenever not everyone's using iMessage, or, you know, if you miss a message with Slack, it'll take you to the last one that you read, and then you can go down the thread. It just was a lot more convenient. So after a little bit of pushing, everybody's kind of finally on board with it. I'm happy with it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be comfortable in Teams versus Slack for sure. I've just used Slack, honestly, for probably 5 or 10 years at this point.
Wow.
Probably since my agency days. But yeah, follow up on the social media apps conversation from last week. Like, I swear I'm in a time warp, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world, but new moon or something is happening. Like, people are coming out of the woodworks, and we have that conversation about just give us back our global search in Instagram. And within 12 hours, I like instinctively hit the global search, and there was global search.
Really?
Look at Instagram.
So, okay, you tell me if my Instagram looks the same as yours.
Yeah, so you still have old Instagram.
That's what I haven't, I've seen screenshots of the new one where people seem outraged, and if I had that, I would be too.
Are you a publisher account?
Yeah.
You are?
I believe so, unless I changed it.
It does. You look like you're basic. Like, I can't see insights on
Maybe
these.
I changed it back. I know that I was publisher account for a while. I think I took my account private, and I had to stop being like a publisher.
That's true.
Yeah.
To go private, because I tried to do that the other day. I wanted to be a publisher and I wanted to be private, because I was
doesn't work that way.
I'm letting these folks know too much. And
yeah, that's how I was feeling. I was like, I'm getting too many friend requests.
But then it was like, hey, your ability to boost. Get in the hole. Oh, that fella deserved that one.
You just scared the crap out of a lot of listeners.
Yeah, but man, that was a beautiful approach shot. He nearly nailed that. We're watching the RSM Classic as we podcast, folks. What were we talking about? It's Instagram. Back. Yeah, my phone's off, but I'll show you later. I have the publisher account still, because I like to, sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like, I'll boost the show a little bit on my own personal IG.
Yeah.
So like when the new logo came out, I boosted that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get 180 likes on it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't know that.
Yeah. I can't tell them the secrets.
It's not like we're telling them right now.
Yeah.
But I think that I need to look at the geo-targeting because I think it was only like one country that was like, man, we're loving this podcast here.
Yeah, in Malaysia. We're really big.
Hey, would you rather be like normal in America or number one in Malaysia?
Yo, number one in Malaysia. I'll take it.
Let's go to a smaller market and figure it out, bro.
Yeah, Malaysians, what are y'all up to over there? What's the sitch?
How can we help?
We love y'all. I don't know I don't know about politics. You know, I don't know if we're in good standing with you guys, but I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, like, we're your number one fans as
oh my goodness,
as you are ours.
As our most downloaded country, Malaysia. As far as your political system goes, whichever party the majority of your people like, that's also ours.
Malaysia's like going to be a super racist country, aren't they? Like, I just feel like we're about to get canceled.
Don't put that out there. I mean, we didn't pick like, I don't know. Let's get off this topic.
Say it.
Let's get off this topic real quick. We're talking about Instagram. Yeah, so I couldn't not boost and see because with View Insights, I get to see if you've saved my photo too, and I want to see that. Yeah.
Like if you post on your story, what do you mean save?
So on Instagram, I could go to your Instagram, and there's like a little ribbon on your Instagram posts, not your stories, but your actual posts that I could use to save. So I could save it. And if you go into your profile and then you go to the ellipses menu at the top right corner, you can go to your saved like photo reel, and you could have just saved random things that inspired you, or like a pen board, or if you thought somebody was hot, or whatever.
I'm about to say, like, I'm checking out to see who's creeping on me.
Well, that's my whole point, is that I can see not who, and this is probably for the best.
Not who.
Who. Oh man,
that takes the fun out of it.
The minute they tell you like who's doing what, nobody does anything, you know?
That's fair.
It's like platforms that let you screenshot and others that, notify the other party that you screenshot.
So it'll give you the number of like how many saves.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So it's always interesting because you get that new, banging headshot going on, and all of a sudden you get like 4 saves and you're like, what the what?
That's good. Hey, Malaysia, back to Malaysia, man. Kuala Lumpur, the second friendliest city in the world.
Kuala Lumpur, of course.
Yes.
That's new headquarters.
Second friendliest city. So,
you know what? Should we think about going to number 1 happiest city?
Yeah, I mean.
What is that?
Let me find out.
It's probably going to be like Bridgeport, Connecticut. When asked, residents said it's because of our high household median income.
Let's see what we got here on the old Google. Queenstown, New Zealand.
Oh, doubtful.
No,
I'm just mouthing off.
Hey, guess the rudest city.
The rudest city?
Yeah.
New York.
Newark, New Jersey.
Oh yeah, the armpit of New York.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's
anyway,
like where you ever flown in and out of Newark? I had to stay overnight at the Newark Radisson one time, and this place was so sketch.
Was it?
Yeah, I got in there and I can't remember what I was so tired. I'd been traveling for 24 hours, and
you were like, "Can I check in?" And they're like, "What gang you with?"
Well, no, it wasn't that bad, man. I just wanted to take a bath. They didn't have a drain stopper, and so I just kind of laid there and
you're like, "Can I take a bath?" They're like, "We don't do that here."
I just kind of splashed around in the thin film of water that would form. I'd hold my fat toe over the drain, and I was just cold. I thought it was going to be room service, and they're like, "Nope, the cafe downstairs closed. Opens tomorrow."
Oh, that's great.
It was just not the scene for me.
Yeah.
How did we get on this? Newark.
We're moving.
Yeah, we're moving to Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
Man, that town sounds fun.
Yeah, it really does. Beautiful. Yeah.
So how many new listeners will we be tapping into?
I can check out the population.
I'm not sure if we should keep going with this bit or just kill it right now. Or I'm trying to think of the repercussions that could be involved here.
I see no drawbacks.
Okay.
1.8 mil.
All righty.
Yeah.
We'll see
That's
you
just
next
in the
week,
city.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
Goodbye, America. Appreciate your measly analytics and
All of our listeners now can suck.
oh my goodness. What?
Just jokes, guys.
Oh
We love
man. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's on the docket?
Oh, I don't have.
Oh, I have feedback from last week from a new listener.
Oh well, who cares what they think?
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm just saying, if you don't start at episode 1, I don't want to hear your feedback.
No, this is a meaningful one to me.
Yeah.
So one of my old teachers
Uh-oh.
decided to listen, Mr. Travis Simpson. He was a choir, chemistry, algebra teacher for myself, and just somebody that I've always looked up to. He would always be the type that would, I don't know, just on top of the material for every class that he taught, but then also like really cool with the, like, that's kind of how I feel like I've shaped myself to be, is that.
Yeah, was he old you?
Yeah, kind of like, I would be honored to draw that comparison.
It would be my honor to be your new stepfather.
It would be my honor
to be your new stepfather.
All right, I'm so sad that that's back to Mr. Simpson.
Mr. Simpson. Travis Simpson sounds like a bad boy, you know? Like, he might have been doing chemistry, but who was he playing drums for?
He's like doing, well, he was teaching at Burton, and now he like got his pilot license, and
see?
Yeah, he's killing the game, man.
You ever met a meek Travis Simpson? It's like a star's name, you know?
Yeah.
Like Aaron Carter or Travis Barker.
Travis Simpson.
Yeah. Like representing the University of Miami.
Yeah. But so my good friend Dylan Sargent, who we've shouted out before, I get a text from Simpson. He's like, Dylan tipped me off to your podcast, and I listened to your latest episode. Pretty solid, entertaining and informative. Keep it up. I said, oh wow, thanks. Appreciate all that. He's like, the app your friend is working, he's talking about Appreciate, sounds like such a great solution to so many shortcomings of the virtual environment. Church and school, like you mentioned, and he's like, the Dolly Parton bit made my wife and I bust up laughing. And I just need to say from the bottom of my heart, that was not a bit. That's 100% true.
Oh, yeah. And that was not, we never knew that was going to be discussed.
Yeah. He said he appreciated my music take on that. And he thinks that we're in a good zone to discuss up and coming issues like technology, apps, social, and music, which is those are all my favorite things to talk about on this podcast. And he says that all of that with a blend of connectedness, but also from a more intellectual angle.
Yeah.
What a great compliment. I that one hyped me up.
Yeah, I mean, when people start out with like solid stuff, which is kind of like, you're like, oh, like, you know that constructive feedback is on the way, and the fact that we're perceived as at all serious about anything is pretty intellectual. Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah. So that meant a lot to me, and so I just wanted to give him a shout out and give him a reason to listen to this one too.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I often wonder, like, do we pare back the topic frameworks that we work off of for the show? You know, are we better scripted with some shared thoughts or some apparatus to the show and the narrative? And
yeah. So listeners, last week we had copious notes. We were very prepared. This week we have 0. Let us know which one you like.
Well, I think that both will be good.
Yeah, no,
I think
agree.
that last week
good
was
to get a little mix.
I heard from many people just that they just thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
You know, again, since the deleted episode, I just don't think that we've maybe taken this as seriously in certain respects, or we've cared less about the opinion of the show listener when we felt like we'd already tanked that opinion anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it was very exposing, like, hey, we're not good at this per se, you know, like, but we're going to keep doing it.
Right.
And we appreciate the
like
rider
the
guys.
car's on fire, but you know,
yeah,
we got to keep driving.
It passed inspection.
Yeah.
Check engine light's been on for a minute, but
listener count hasn't gone down to 0.
My low tire pressure's been on since like March.
My like literally?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My car's like on its last leg.
Yeah, my sensor is messed up, so it always says I have low tire pressure. So if I ever actually do, I'll never know.
Yeah, my car also won't store or hold. It won't retain any of the windshield wiper fluid. Mm-hmm. There's a cut, I think, in that, because they keep filling it up and sending me out, and then it gets dirty, and I like go to squeegee it, and I'm like, oh no, I'm blind. Yeah. There's no fluid. It's been a real, that's a real hazard, man. Like,
and you've had this vehicle for a hot minute,
man. I bought that thing in 2012.
Okay,
and you know, I've always been relieved. I have a 2012 Ford Escape. Mm-hmm. I bought it like same model year, just slightly used. It was the nicest, most newest car I'd ever had. I've only had 3 cars. Yeah, my F-150, the Civic, and then this. And it helped me not focus on cars. You know, like I didn't ever look at another car, and that was most beneficial to my Ford progress, because when I started fantasizing about a little roadster and all of this, like the next thing you know, I'm like selling belongings on the street corner and like flipping this car and trying to get that. And also going further back in like model year than I should to be able to get some cool import or something stupid. So this car has been great. I always kept the low mileage on it because when I bought it, I worked 2 miles from my apartment. I then moved to Baltimore, where it was in the garage all the time because I walked to work in Baltimore. And then I came back to Dallas, and I worked 2 blocks from my apartment for another 2 years at the agency. And then I worked remote for 3.5 years. And now I'm moving on top of my apartment, on top of my office, essentially. So again, I will not be using it.
That's great.
So even though I've had it for a decade, I think even with all the back and forth to like California and some of those cross country road trips that I have done, which have been the majority of like the wear and tear plus in town, I only have like 80,000 miles on it.
Oh, that's very impressive.
So, I mean, you have to have a good mix of like low mileage and also a good year. You know, like if you had like a 2017 something with 30 or 40,000 miles, that would be a lot better than having my 2012 at 80.
Right.
Like I was told that you actually can run out the clock on the car regardless of the mileage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to get a truck or SUV or.
Your car's still Jeep. Pretty new, right?
It's also a 2012.
Is it really?
2012 Honda. Yep.
Well, you've kept that thing really nice.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
I thought that was much newer.
No. It has over 100 thou on it now.
Bro, like you've inspired me on that Honda because like it's nobody rolls up anymore. You know, you get out of an Uber Black or you're already there staying at the hotel block. Like I think that most of the time, especially in urban city living, having like the dope car or whatever is kind of overrated. Yeah. And the streets,
a little played out.
The streets here are so bad. If you're in Plano, like Legacy West, I would have much more of a need to work towards a Bentley than I would in Uptown or Dallas, where there's potholes everywhere.
Right. Every pothole you hit is a couple hundred to.
The testament, I've thought about this, like, do I just go buy like a brand new 4-door Honda Civic, like 2020, because you know it'll last till 2040?
Yeah.
And I had no idea that yours was this dated.
Yep.
Because it looks, they don't go out of style is my main point.
Yeah, I think it's a great car. The only reason I do like to travel, and it's just not convenient for road trips as far as like packing, and I want to be able to go camping, different things like that, and just can't do it.
That's why the Ford Escape has been, you know, just the greatest thing, because even though it is like a little 4-cylinder, but it gets, you know, pretty decent gas mileage, and you know, I've taken it some pretty crazy places, you know.
Yeah, mine's 4-cylinder, and like once it gets up to past 70, it starts shaking, and that's also an issue.
I mean, mine shakes sometimes, but I went like 100 yesterday.
Yeah.
And for quite a while, and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I'm so bad about that. Like, I'll just go 100 if I can.
Yeah.
Went 100 on the tollway yesterday, but I was just keeping pace with half those folks.
Oh yeah, as long as you're moving with traffic, that's cool. If you're weaving in and out, I'd say chill a bit.
A little bit of weaving, but I was the follower. I wasn't leading, so I was kind of tailing this Porsche Cayenne that was blazing a trail for me, and he was looking for cops up front. I was looking for cops out back.
Good little duo.
There's more leniency on those toll roads, dude. I feel like the nicer the Lexus and SUV and the better demo, fiscally, it's driving down the street, the less they, because, they stop cars that are like dinged up,
right?
Headlight out, wrong tag or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something else. What else has happened since so the global search with Instagram is back. I don't really have any new findings on the social media stuff other than that.
No, I will say the Jeezy and
I wanted to follow up on
Gucci battle went on, and depending on with the verses, it's hard to describe just to like the person who isn't like very immersed in that world. But there's a lot of people who say Gucci won just because of his presence and like his demeanor and the way that he was kind of strutting on the stage and acting like he kind of owned the place. But then others are saying like Jeezy picked the better songs. It was very hostile throughout the entire time. I saw a lot of people, just tweeting out that they were scared from the comfort of their own living room. But they did kind of piece it out at the end and say, hey, there's too much violence going on lately. And, we don't have to make music together. We don't have to be best friends or anything like that. But, we do want to make a statement and say, it's in the past. We're moving on, moving forward and all that. So I actually really appreciated that. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
I watched clips of it, and for a while I was like, oh, I didn't realize how intimate this was. Like, could somebody bring a gun in this thing, get shot up 100%?
Yeah.
But then I saw
there was a lot of security.
I saw Gucci kind of like kept interrupting Jeezy. And then I thought the main clip that kept getting shared on Twitter of like Jeezy being like, if this isn't about you or me, man. And then he goes like, what did he call himself? Like, I'm the leader, or
I can't remember.
I don't know. That was like a big moment where I was like, oh, snap. Like, it felt like whatever had happened the rest of the time, he won.
Right.
Based off of like what I saw.
Yeah. He was just being the bigger person because Gucci actually kept bringing up the friend that he allegedly killed.
I thought I was listening to that. I was like, is this as blatant as I think it is?
Yeah. Because he even had like diss tracks that mentioned those allegations and like, was hating on Jeezy and stuff. And like he played those songs. I was like staring at him while he rapped them. And that's what I'm saying is like, it was really intense as far as that goes. Like it definitely could have gone south if egos and feelings had gotten in the way.
I don't know how they didn't, I don't know how Jeezy like maintained his composure if he really thought
Jeezy
that there was
like,
an element of
man,
truth.
This is like 20 years ago and Gucci was like 15. Like he knows the date,
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to think that maybe Jeezy's sitting on the bigger pile of cash.
Potentially, like he has older money. Like he hasn't had. They both came out with. Gucci dropped a mixtape that night, and then Jeezy came out with his album, and so, but he hasn't had a hit in a while like Gucci has.
But you know what? Let's talk about that real quick, because there are a bunch of like B-list singer stars that if you were a musician, an artist back when they were still selling CDs at Walmart as a primary distribution system, you went to Best Buy, you went to Walmart, you picked up the latest Celine Dion, you got the latest NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Back in that era, you could have had a couple hits. Like Slim Shady could have retired off of Slim Shady,
Yes. But I will also say back then, like music labels were getting paid quite a bit. And that's why you had to tour. I think we touched on this in in prior episodes, but the music label would just take a huge lump of the money. Nowadays, like, you don't really need the middleman. You can just upload your song and say awesome and see what it does and make all the music for, or all the money for yourself. Like, you know, I was bigging Russ up on the EP that he dropped last week. Like I've talked about it before. He produces, sings, raps. He does it all on his own and uploads it himself. There's no middleman, and he's literally tweeted out his bank statements and like how he just made $1 million in a month off of one song.
Well, that one song that you sent me,
crazy,
went so hard in the paint that, and plus it was just every aspect of it is so unique. Like the lyrics, the beats, the music videos, like the way that he can kind of go between this like melodic singing rap, you know, just kind of emceeing. Like it's kind of hard to describe what some of this is anymore. Like it used to be like very much rap, and now, you know, you have like the Drakes of the world and people like that that have transcended the genre, and
it's like a whole production. And again, just super. Like I've had that on repeat.
I listened to it several times this week. I'm not gonna lie. Did you see that T Swift, like an investment group, bought her masters from
without her
Scooter
knowing?
Braun owned them. Did you know that?
Of course. This has been huge for years because he allegedly abused her, like physically.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take that how, you know, I don't know. You can look into it yourself and see what you believe. I wasn't there. I can't speak on it. But there were reports, and I think, no, I don't know, but she just tried to get her masters back, and she's really upset this time around because he sold them off without her knowledge. And she's like, well, I have the money to purchase them, and you could have just sold them back to me, but instead you went behind. And if you're money man, you don't really care about, at the end of the day, it's all business. It is what it is. Like, he owned the rights. He can do whatever he wants with them, whether or not you agree with it. So I can't really hate on them for that. There's probably a nicer way he could have gone about it, but seeing as how, you know, there's murky water, and not everything's good between them.
Your point being that he was perfectly within his business right and purview to sell it to whoever he wanted, but by not notifying you or giving you first dibs, clearly he doesn't value his relationship with you to the utmost extent, and that's just what you have to read into that. But I didn't really realize, I guess, that he owned her masters, and I saw this headline. First of all, it was $300 million. Second of all, I was like, how much money does Scooter Braun have? Because doesn't he own Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
Like, how much money does this guy have? He must be close to $1 billion. Like, he must be $750 million. And who is he? He's the connected guy that finds children on YouTube?
I guess.
What is the deal?
His net worth is at least 400 mil, but that's as of September. So obviously it's gone up now that he's sold the rights to Taylor's masters. But that goes back to me talking about Russ and just like why it's super important for artists, you know, if you can, then go your own route and not have to pay anybody to put out your music. Like, if you're that talented, I will say a lot of people have benefited from record labels because you probably couldn't have been pushed on the radio or anything without their help. And maybe they do deserve a good portion of your money because you would be nowhere without them to begin with. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You can't be mad at the record label if you're the one that signed the contracts. I definitely think that the record labels take advantage of these artists, but no one forced you to sign it. So if all of a sudden you blow up and you're wanting to get out of this contract, like, they're not obligated to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
I definitely think record labels screw them over. However, you either could have done it on your own or you couldn't have done it without them at all. And so that's just kind of, you know, that's the route that you took. You can't be mad at it.
I think half the stuff that we spend time, you know, conjecturing on and discussing in terms of market fragmentation and these new things like, the record labels have been mistreating stars for forever, and Hollywood had like an inductee, hazing process, and all of these different like layers of bureaucracy and people that had to say yes, and all of this, like all of this just boils down to the internet and democratization of access to markets. Like even if you were a designer, let's say that you had to go find a design job at a otherwise like already set up design agency, and nowadays you can just get a Squarespace, promote yourself, show your portfolio. They're all just URLs with differing levels of domain authority and like brand reputations behind them.
Yep.
But there's a billion portfolios out there of people that could do the job through the agency that they're working with, or they could do it on the side hustle with freelance. And then that customer could still go tell people like brought to you by people from the Richards Group or whatever.
Right.
But even with the Richards Group, I think the amazing thing to me, I interviewed at the Richards Group back in the day. I was one final interview away from getting a brand management job at Richards Group on Dr. Pepper Snapple.
Wow.
And that was right when they were losing Chick-fil-A back in the day.
Yeah.
And so they had combined some internal resources to fill the gap that I was going to be filling, because suddenly somebody was kind of like without half their job. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that was always the most solid play in the ad world. It was the largest independent agency in the known universe.
Yeah.
And they lost 60% of their client roster in a day because of the stuff we discussed a couple weeks ago.
Crazy.
And it's like, you have to think when you shave billings by $500-600 million, there are people that probably thought that they had made it, and where are they going to go now?
Yeah. Yeah. At this day and age, just with any type of, especially in like the creative world, you could just strike. I mean, you can go viral. Like we talked about the Ocean Spray dude, right? Who's coming on with a bunch of these deals. He's already been featured in commercials. He's been on air with like Snoop Dogg. They bought him a house. He said he's made about $340,000 through the music video and commercial appearances, just from a 10-second video on TikTok. You know what I mean?
I didn't know he was pulling 340K.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is.
You have to build products up overnight and be ready to ship them, because, even in the space that we were in with Appreciate Social that we were discussing, where users have social agency and shared music playlists and different things like that. Dude, I swear, I was on Instagram over the weekend and saw, do you follow the Blessed one?
I think so.
He's one of the pretty funny memers, but
yeah.
Sometimes he'll do promos or something and like tag whoever in the description. And this one, there was like this pretty hack commercial where this guy and two girls and somebody off camera were all on a Zoom call. And, the girls were like, this is boring. I don't like this. Like, I want to go out. Okay. And the one guy was like, we have to be responsible. Like, we could pretend like we're at a club. And he put on like an interactive background, virtual background. Yeah. They were like, this is lame. And then the one girl goes, I just got invited to a party on Amp Me. I'm going to go over there. Okay. And then she pulls up her cell phone. It's like a split screen, no different than a Zoom call, but everyone is listening to a shared music playlist. And she was like, this is so much more rad. And they all start dancing together, and like it's basically FaceTime with music.
Right.
And I was just like, and so it begins, was my literal thought. Like, there's so much. We were talking about, has anything good come out of COVID last week? A lot of crazy stuff has come out. You know how many new jobs and innovations and like new norms that we staff against, build products against? Like, it's insane.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a whole in the process. Like, when does it's like Zoom got to global dominance, and I already see it being just the incumbent. It's like Facebook for social networking or Google for search. It's Zoom de facto as the number one, kind of niche go-to-meeting provider.
Yep.
And all these people it started in the last 6 months. All these people are gunning for that now. Just like Parler's taking from Facebook and Twitter, there are going to be people taking from Zoom.
Yeah. I mean, like, I use Google Meets now instead of Zoom.
Google Meets has raised their game. I've heard a lot of like organizations that I respect that are like, we use Google Meet.
I will say it has a long way to go, but I use it for the convenience of I'm already using Google Classroom with my students for them to turn in their assignments, or they can even take online quizzes and tests on there. And that's where, I just post random notices for all of them. And so then there's just like the Google, I do it more out of convenience, is that I don't have to make a code or anything. It's already there. We click it and we're in the meeting. I do think that there's stuff that they have to up their game with, but it gets the job done.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Everybody is just looking for consolidation as well at the I think at the scholastic and the corporate level. There's never been more app fatigue with app spread. We don't want yet another login. Like, how are our people going to access this technology? It's going to be integrated into our. Yeah, it's funny. Like, a lot of people have, adopted Microsoft Teams, and they need something that integrates with Microsoft Teams, but then they're still concerned that it's one more thing within Microsoft Teams that the people would have to use. And it is a hard problem because we're always throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing if it sticks. Because if you can enter the market with like a razor sharp approach on one niche thing, you can win at something. Because when Zoom first entered the market, everybody was like, what are you, crazy? Like, we have all these options. We've got Skype, we've got Google Meets, we've got all this different stuff. And they were like, yeah, but we're going to do one thing and do it really well.
Yeah.
And now they're the de facto.
Yep.
And then we see these apps that like consolidate all the different approaches for us. I don't know, the whole digital footprint and having to make sure that all of your logins and everything is synced, and managing that at scale for an organization that, the average enterprise has like 130 applications that their people use on like a weekly basis.
That's crazy. We're talking about platforms, being the de facto. Like, I still think even music platforms have a long way to go. Like, I see great things from Apple Music, Spotify, and Tidal, and even SoundCloud. And it'd be nice for one platform to take, like, kind of like, all other social media platforms are taking what Snapchat did and posting stories that disappear in 24 hours. They're all competing against each other and creating their own thing similar. Like, I wish music platforms would steal from each other a little bit more, because there's a lot of great things just solely on one that I wish the others would have. I had tweeted out that Apple Music, anytime like a big album comes out, it's like they interviewed the artist and they came up with the background behind all of their songs. And like, I love that. I think it makes it more personal and brings another layer to the album and makes it more special. And then Spotify, just their user interface is a lot more easy to navigate. And I think it's easier to find like new music on there. SoundCloud, literally like anybody can upload to there, which I think is great. And Tidal, like, they're exclusive. They've done like amazing virtual concerts. They've done like films that scored by these artists, like Beyonce coming out with a whole cinematic thing, visualized album, concept album, stuff like that. I wish one platform would bring all these things together and I could get it all in one place and not have to, spend $5 to $10 on each platform a month.
Yeah, I feel you. I was telling my parents that at my birthday dinner, like, I'm going to have to scale back some of these streaming platforms whenever I move and just make a executive decision, because I can't keep straddling YouTube Premium, YouTube TV, Netflix. Like, I'm paying for all these different people on all these platforms.
Yeah, to watch what? Like one exclusive show? Like let's be honest, Netflix, they come out with something good maybe once every couple months that we're all hyped up about. And then we go back to, I probably go back to watching The Office or whatever show's on there. And then HBO, it's like, oh, there's a new season of this coming out. You got to get the, for me and all the streaming platforms, like, luckily I share logins with friends and stuff. And so I'm paying for one and they're paying for the rest, and we all kind of share. but it definitely does all add up. And for what, like 1 or 2 shows?
I don't know. Like Netflix has you locked in at this point where like it's not really on the list of things that you would scale back first. Just because you say that they might come out with 1 or 2 good things every couple months, but they're going to have probably, my guess is on average for the normal like consumer, they're going to have 4 or 5 annual drops that you still care about, whether it's Schitt's Creek or Border Town or American Horror Story.
True.
We'll get back to that. So already you have, probably 40, 100 hours of content that you are going to have a subscription to consume. Plus just the repository of everything that they are, where, I need to go back and watch NCIS season 1 or The Office season 1 or The Office London British, version. They're going to be the overall, and also I would say the authority on stand-up comedy. Although now that I've been into Prime Video, like I've watched a lot more of Jim Gaffigan and some of these different people.
Did you watch the new Kevin Hart special on Netflix?
I've never been a Kevin Hart stand-up comedy fan.
Yeah. With each one, it just gets, I don't know. It's become more of a shtick.
By the time he was on my radar, he was already doing stadiums, and I don't, I love Joe Coy on podcasts.
Yeah.
I love Kevin Hart on First Take. I love Joe Rogan's podcast, but I don't do stadium comics for the most part.
Yeah.
Dave is the only one that can do a poop manure pasture or a drive-in theater or the Carnegie and, rock them all.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Did you catch Donnell Rollins and him on JRE this week?
No. I saw that I'm going to go back and listen to it, but haven't caught it.
It's like the first 2.5 hours is Donnell Rollins, and he got shot.
What?
Yeah. It's a really weird.
Like recently?
Yeah, like he couldn't drink or anything because he was on antibiotics and had like a big cast on his thumb because part of his thumb got shot off in what he called like gang warfare in the streets when he had his little. It doesn't add up. Like he has this little like purebred dog, and he's like walking around the street, and he wouldn't really talk about it. And then Joe was like, dude, this is so random that like you just got shot and like you don't really want to talk about it. And he's like, sorry that I don't describe it just like you would like, Joe. But, sometimes when 2 people are disenfranchised with one another and then the universe just so happens to see that their paths intersect and they want to go to settle said agreement, sometimes things don't go the greatest, Joe. And he was like, okay. It was really Donnell, like, he's almost one of those people that like plays a role almost like Tim Dillon.
Oh yeah.
Are you a Tim Dillon fan?
Dude, the sketch comedy was it on Netflix?
He does like impressions and sketches and stuff like that. But
yeah, he has like a sketch special on Netflix, I thought.
He has, I think he's on the stand-ups half hour.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different dude, sorry.
I'm like, he's not Middlevich
no,
or
I've
Shorts.
seen this guy though.
Yeah, he's one of the best. He was on the Alex Jones Returns episode of JRE here recently, which is just too much.
Yeah.
All right, man. So it's the Sunday prior to Thanksgiving. You're headed down south?
Yes. And by the way, I was thinking of Tim Robinson.
Tim Robinson.
Yeah, he has the Netflix.
Is he the guy from SNL?
Maybe. The sketch comedy is called I Think You Should Leave.
Okay.
If you have, it's pretty funny.
Get a picture.
Yes, he was cast on Saturday Night Live in 2012. Funny dude. Anyway, yeah. So heading to Austin on Tuesday. Gonna hang out with my mom and eat some good food all week, and just chill. Just gonna rest, and then once we're back, we got about 3 weeks until Christmas break, and so just gonna kind of lock in until then.
Well, that'll be fun, man. Drive safe. You taking Kortney with you?
Yep.
Very cool. She was able to finagle her schedule.
Yeah.
To facilitate that.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. How about you?
I'm working the first couple of days of this week through Wednesday, really.
Yeah.
it's so funny. Like I have so many of these like group social demos going on right now that, and I think it's a testament to the product in many ways that people that are on PTO next week are like scheduling the meeting to come.
Oh, really?
You know, like they're on personal PTO from their at will W-2 job and they want to see it.
That's crazy.
So they're going to like budget around that. But I oversubscribed Tuesday's social. And so I scheduled one Monday and then I oversubscribed that one.
Oh.
So I just started asking everybody on our calls, like, you guys working next week? And they're like, yeah, we can. Or actually the surprising part is that I feel like most people are working.
Yeah.
Like in the corporate world and stuff like that. Cause I don't know. It's still just hustle, right? Like I love following these investment banker meme accounts where there was one where it was like a back and forth with the office where one person was like repeating over and over, like, we should give employees more time off or PTO, like more work-life balance and separation with remote work. And I think it was like Rainn Wilson or somebody over there is like trying to figure out what they're saying. Then he goes, "Oh, a mental health awareness day," you know, to suffice for the fact that everybody's just working around the clock. It seems like, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm doing that Monday through Wednesday.
Okay.
Going to be gearing up for that move come Saturday.
Yeah, man, that's exciting.
And getting some of that stuff together. That was a nice putt. And then I'm going to my cousin Kim and Jason's for Thanksgiving, kind of down your way. Actually, they might actually be in Keene proper now.
Okay,
but she inherited the mantle from her mother, my Aunt Twyla, who hosted us all my years 0 to 25.
Yeah,
we kind of always did Thanksgiving with that side of the family, and then I don't think we have anything going on for Christmas yet. I did hear that Meredith is going to be coming back.
Awesome.
It sounded like Brian did get approved to get to go back to Germany to see his people, which is, you know, I don't think that was a given with COVID and everything occurring right now.
That's great.
I know that she's going to be in a more friendly portion of the country to actually have a social gathering of any type if she comes down here. So it sounds like she's going to be down here for a couple weeks. Yeah. Starting mid-December.
Okay. Well, Meredith, we're going to link up. Definitely want her to be able to meet Kortney. And
they still haven't met?
I don't think so. No.
That would make sense. Yeah. Well, she's going to be back, like, sounds like for 3 or 4 weeks potentially.
Oh, that's great.
Just kind of holed up, hanging out. So that will be cool. It's just been so much drama over, like, again, respective to wherever you are. But these mandates, these lockdowns that are occurring, like, it's really concerning. Like, even Joe on the podcast with Donnell was saying, or I think Dave Chappelle was asking him, are you going to open up a comedy club? Because apparently Cap City or whatever in Austin, I think it folded. It's like permanently gone or something to that effect. Wow. Don't quote me on that. And Joe was saying, yeah, but I'm going to wait until the new administration is officially inaugurated and like in the office.
See what's going to go down.
To see if there's going to be like a national lockdown of sorts, because we're just spiking hard, obviously.
Yep. Yeah. Smart plan.
Even Trump Jr. has COVID-19. It's like an upside down world where Trump actually had 10 tweets the other day that were not marked as like abusive or spam content.
Wow.
And it seemed like the tone was shifting maybe to, you know, more self-congratulatory, like braggadocious style. Like, you know, he is still in office. Vaccine is still being delivered on his watch.
Yeah.
90+% effective. So I don't know if he's just going to try to ride that wave out, but what I'm hearing experts that I respect, you know, say is that he'll probably never really give the other side the due that they deserve. Like there will probably never be a super concise concession speech, because if he has ambitions to start the Trump News Network and or to run himself or maybe one of his kids or something like that in 2024, I don't think they can ever fully concede in their strategic mind.
That makes sense. I can see that.
Not real helpful.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Biden and I shared a birthday.
Oh, do you? Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a lot of like, you know, butt kissers out there like Pete Buttigieg, like, happy birthday, Mr. President-elect on Instagram. And I'm like, all right, Pete, When are you reporting to the VA, buddy?
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
There's a lot more controversy about those cabinet picks. Like, it sounds like they're hiring people that are like already in the government. A lot of Republicans, it sounds like, and also people. I think that the Treasury pick that's being rumored now is like a total Wall Street shill type person.
Oh, really?
So there's not going to be any like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders heading that up.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad about.
Yeah. It'll be all right.
What would you like to talk about, Brad?
I don't know, man.
Dude, let's take a break.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks. Internal staff meeting. I was starting to go into the holiday season stuff, Thanksgiving this week. So B-Rad rightly thought that I was rapping because I was, and then I just forgot that I was. And the thing that I love about this show, I think, versus other shows, is that it's not live.
Yeah.
There are no sponsors.
No.
And we still require commercial breaks just to keep it together long enough to string together an hour and a half of conversation.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. But one of these days we're going to have, we'll be able to splice commercials in between, and we'll get paid to go converse and figure out what we're going to talk about next.
We're so silly, man.
Oh, all right. Order in the court. Here we go.
All right. So, story time or news story time?
I have a news story that I didn't get around to telling last week.
Okay.
Big Slice Pizza. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, I love that rapper.
Stupid.
Hey, Brad, is it going down?
It's going down, young jock, baby. All right, moving on.
People loved how I schooled you in that moment.
I hated that. Cannot believe that I got that wrong.
Yeah, were you pretty embarrassed, or what was your?
I was just more, not embarrassed. Just
Did you feel
I should know better.
At all? Did you feel like a poser when it comes to your rap game knowledge?
No, not.
I went back and listened to the episode, and I realized like what a dig you're throwing at me. Where you're like, you don't like conscious rap. And I was like, what the?
You like it? Yeah.
I was like, as opposed to unconscious rap. Like, what am I listening to?
You're more like the beats and the trap type stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I
Not
can't
a dig.
even.
It's just the style.
Yeah. Well, I watched your Russ EP. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's conscious either, though.
What is conscious then?
Conscious is more like talking about like social injustice and
we can't just be like stacking Benjamins.
Well, you can if you're like Kendrick Lamar and like the way he weaves like a lot of those stories in. But I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call Russ like a conscious rapper. Like when I think conscious rappers, I think Common, Lupe Fiasco, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, a lot of those heavy hitters from like the 2000s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, who is Jay-Z then? What kind of rapper is he?
Jay-Z is just like the mogul. Like,
do you
business?
Do you like prioritize for the rapper that's able to eloquently weave that social justice narrative into the framework of the song versus somebody who can stack Benjamins but do it in a very eloquent, clever way? Because
I mean, that's more fun for me to listen to, if I'm being honest. Like
the former.
Like I always think the social justice type stuff is great, but that's not something that like I'm probably just going to be bumped. Like it's more tedious and like having to really pay attention to the lyrics, and then if I'm listening to rap, I'm probably just trying to like have a fun time trying to get hype and everything. So I don't necessarily want a lesson in every one of my songs. But that's just personal.
So, but are you saying that if it can be a banger, but also impactful?
Yeah.
Maybe that's your point.
Awesome. Yeah.
But, so is that your number one form of, you like the conscious stuff more than anything? Is that what you're saying?
No, I like wordplay.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite rapper?
At the moment, my favorite rapper is Benny the Butcher.
That's right. Yeah. How's he doing?
He's okay.
Okay.
Y'all know we talked about he got shot last week or the week before. He'll be all right. But yeah, he's my favorite right now. Anyway, Big Slice Pizza.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that we've been riffing off of that.
Because you said that was your favorite rapper. That's how we got there.
Okay.
A 25-year-old man had the this is the title of this article.
Okay.
A 25-year-old man had the audacity to make himself a pizza as he stole cash in a delivery car from a California pizzeria, police say.
Goodness. There's no need to click in.
Yeah, a man accused of stealing this pizza. He was taken into police custody. Yeah, he it wasn't enough just to take the money and the car. He had to whip himself up a pizza real quick. I just thought that was
Bro, if you're gonna
so dumb.
If you're gonna rob Domino's, call your order in ahead of time so that you can pick it and the cash up real time.
Exactly.
You're not gonna be like, hey, bust the alarm open, but now we're gonna wait 22 minutes because we're gonna use the tracker and it's gonna go from pre-oven to in the oven to quality check.
It's like, wait, run that back. I said extra cheese.
Yeah, like, oh.
Idiots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Didn't get around to that story last week. I just thought that was so dumb.
You should be in charge of like our new segment, like the dumbest and longest headlines of the week.
Deal. I'll try to find a Florida man article next week.
I feel like Kimmel, Letterman, some of them have done. Leno used to. Excuse me, I have like a hiccup.
You're good.
Leno used to do the best headlines and news stories when they were literally like newspaper clippings, and they would zoom in on it.
2 days ago, was Florida man arrested after driving away with power pole on car roof? Oh, that's good.
Some people are in the pandemic. Some people are just in the panhandle, you know?
November 16th, Florida man charged with involving 8-year-old boy in crime spree. I don't want him to be soft. That's his quote.
Goodness gracious.
Jeez, man. I was trying to tough him up. I don't want him to be soft. Brian Bruchet, a spokesman for the Polk County Sheriff's Office, said. Wow.
I thought you meant the perp's name was Brian Bruchet, and I was like, that seems weird.
That was the detective's name. Ernest McKnight III was the gentleman trying to loop this boy into a crime spree.
So the third got arrested for coercing the fourth?
Oh, yeah. Something like that.
Okay. It was a mistake to come back in after that beautiful pause. All right, B-Rat, tell us your story time.
No, that pizza, what do you want to know? That pizza was the story.
Okay. Well, either the story segment that we discussed or just something funny or random, or you can do one of your questions that might be
one of my questions? I have to scroll back
positioned.
Let me try to scroll back in my notes and see if I have any old questions for you. Until then,
I got one for you.
Any anecdotes? Oh boy, you have one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, what?
When you were 8 years old, what did you want to be?
When I was 8 years old, I think I wanted to be an artist, but I could not. I love drawing, but I could not draw worth anything.
Yeah, I could never. Like, I always
really wanted to be good at drawing, but I'm like, if I were to draw a person on a piece of paper right now, it would look like it did whenever I was in the second grade. Like, I made no improvements.
Dude, if I were to draw a word, otherwise known as writing, you would see that I can obviously not do free expression.
Yeah.
I can't even do structured expression.
Oh, man.
Looks like Michael J. Fox is signing for me, you know? It's not a pretty picture at all.
Oh, I have an old question for you that kind of goes back into like the workspace or, just your job. Okay, here we go. Yeah, let me just get into it instead of.
Well, shaky on the mound, folks. We'll see how he does.
Didn't put enough chalk on the hands. All right. Tell me about a customer that changed your practice. Okay, so we've talked about like these books and stuff that you've read. We've talked about just, people that you've looked up to and how that's kind of helped shape you. But I want to know about like a customer, someone that you've, done business with that has changed the way that you do things, the way that you work.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because something does kind of immediately pop to mind where it's like, how did this person end up becoming, like an influencer, somebody that you wanted to model after in many ways, and they were in the customer role, like, and it's not just changing process at like, the agency level or the company level. It's like in where you're trying to go. When I was in my agency days, I got to work with some really cool, it was like my first foray into startups. And we were a branding agency that would do everything from, naming. We named organizations to logo, brand, and identity, web, e-commerce, design, print, all these different aspects of brand. And so whenever you're at that branding level, they're either rebranding or branding for the first time. And so we got to meet with, highly qualified professionals that already had C-level, executive chairs at other organizations and were trying to start new ones, or maybe they were trying to start a new product line within an existing entity. And so I got to work with some guys that had worked with venture capitalists and early formation startup teams. And I don't think this person would mind me mentioning them just because they continue to be ongoingly relevant, which is, I could say, a testament to my choosing skills, but at the same time, like, who you want to be and who's going to continue to scale their own personal trajectory. But one of the people that I met during that time was a guy named Melbourne, and he had several C-level positions that, were just, I bid on a couple different projects for him for different entities that he was running. And he had this concept that I'm going to be really generic about because I do believe that some of it was probably NDA protected back in the day. The cat's out of the bag now, and it's a totally different situation. Like we named his original entity, and he came to us with like a concept and a lot of research and plans for execution, and needed branded components for some of the visualization, not only for early team, but also for like investors and different things like that. And so I was, for the first time, doing more like presentation decks and, really interactive ways to show the potential addressable market. And meanwhile, this guy was really cool. He just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, over 40 days or something like that. He was driving around in like your GLK and all that stuff, and had, a very prosperous and, powerful partner in his wife that also is a business maverick. Some would say maybe even larger than him. Like, I don't know. She's got a huge public following, and, just had all the things that you would think I would want to model after. But more than anything, it was just like it was the nature of the work where, during that time, not with this particular entity, but other startups or other pre-funded, ideas would come to us and even offer us like an equity stake in exchange for creative services to support them, until they could get real funding, for instance. And I was in love with that concept. Like, that risk was a thrill to me because, the higher the risk, the higher the return. And I was thinking, man, if one of these blow up and we're like getting an equity stake and all of these different things that come through here, I was already kind of thinking along the YC mindset of some sort of service that assists you, takes equity in return. Anyway, long story short, throughout this process, I remember I would take all my phone calls like in this garden parking lot, like out back. And because we were in like an intimate studio setting. And I remember asking this guy, like, here's what I'm thinking. Like, I like doing sales. I like being on like, I like talking to companies going to market and people going to market and being involved with like a changing dynamic and having to sell services that, support creative services back to that effort. And this is my skill set. This is what I think I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And just sought him for counsel. I'm like, what do you do? Like, I see a bunch of different titles, but what is it that you do? And how do I do that in the future? And so anyway, I thought that it was just an interesting client customer dynamic. And to his credit, he has actually taken that concept, scaled it, gotten significant funding, has a huge team. It's now called Bestow, and it's a life insurance that you can purchase online very easily. And it's just been really interesting to watch him go through this process. But to his credit, like he did not blow me off as an irrelevant call, even though I was basically the sales rep. That was also very consultative and advisor like for this particular niche, you know, and I was also liaising for the team on behalf of the team and the creative director principal. But he very much took all my questions, was available for follow-ups. And anyway, it was just a powerful thing to me.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's very cool. And clearly, you're a guy that wears a lot of hats these days, it would seem, and putting out multiple fires yourself. So I think you definitely took a lot of that advice to heart.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to take any credit for anything. I just think that it was indicative of what was to come, in that I was already kind of thinking along these lines, like, okay, what about new go-to-markets, new products entering spaces? Like, that whole thing intrigued me. And as early as 2015 was when this was. That's when I was really kind of thinking, I think this, like, selling just a normal service in an effort to make quota, make your money and go home. I think that could be a dead end approach or have its drawbacks in the future. Because I was always just very concerned about having to rep a product in my 40s with what if I had mouths to feed or a mortgage? Like, I saw guys like that were new to an outfit that maybe I'd gotten a job offer and turned it down, and I was 20 years younger.
Right.
And it scared me half to death thinking about debt. If you were to accrue debt, which basically having a family of any kind, you will do so for the most part, like mortgage, whatever the case may be, cars. It just scared me to think that I could have to start that compounding reputational value process over with a new entity. Like, how could I harvest all the connections and advice that I'd given to people? How could I make that always work for me and not end with the Rolodex, not end with my being locked out of the CRM as I complete my last day at the job?
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that, man. I appreciate you opening up and sharing that.
Yeah. Who's somebody that has affected you in that way in your work?
So I can replace customer with students, in that I would say my first year of teaching, and I might have talked about it briefly, but I can get a little bit more in depth here. My first year of teaching, I tried to be like this really strict kind of person, no nonsense, stuff like that. Just because I was younger, it was my first year, I wanted to be taken seriously. I was told in college, whenever I was going through the educational program, like, you were there to teach the students, you were not there to, be friends with them or anything like that. And I, to an extent, can see why they would teach us that. But to me, it always made more sense. It's like, well, somebody would listen to you more, or take your advice or learn from you more, like, if you built a relationship with them. Like, and I'm just thinking from my own standpoint, like, I never took anybody serious. I talked about Travis Simpson earlier. Like, he's somebody that I could joke around with and talk with, and I don't know if I ever did, but he would also be somebody that I feel like a teacher that I could confide in if I ever needed advice or anything. And like, that's what I didn't understand, going through college, is that, okay, well, if we're not supposed to like build, like relationships with them and everything, we're just supposed to teach, that just kind of feels off. And I don't think I'm going to be the best teacher possible if I can't do that. But anyway, I gave it a shot my first year of teaching and tried to be strict, didn't really build a whole lot of relationships until like my second semester there. And after that, we had a new student who didn't have a lot of friends. They were going through a lot. They, I don't know, for some reason, I guess just the way that I kind of spoke and had a dry sense of humor, joked around, I think that opened up a space for them to be able to confide in me and they let me know about their home life going on, and just some of the battles that they were dealing with, like depression and different things like that. And also having some difficult, thoughts whenever you are that depressed, and different things like that. And, opened up to me, and it got to the point where I like legally had to tell somebody, my superior, what was going on, because I was worried about this kid's life. And I told them after all this went down, and they had to get a signature from a therapist that they were seeing and everything to prove that they were going to be going to all this. Anyway, I told them afterward, I was like, hey, I'm sorry that it led to all this. I need you to know that I care about you so much that I don't care if you're mad at me or you don't want to confide anymore in me. You can be mad at me all you want, but I'm just glad that, we're going to be getting you help and everything. And they're like, they basically told me, no, like, you really helped me. And the fact that you're willing to do all this for me, like, nobody at home has really shown interest. I've told them that, I'm dealing with all this, and they basically said to, like, pray all this away, and, just trust God instead of like getting help. And again, being a Christian teacher, like, I definitely think prayer is worth doing. I think it is beneficial, and I definitely think God helps out. At the same time, maybe those prayers led me and the student to be able to open up, and me take the necessary steps in order for them to get help. So, in a way, maybe the prayer did help. I don't know. It made me realize that, hey, like, I understand you don't need to be BFFs with these students, but if you are real and open with them and honest, and you don't just care about their knowledge of chapter 5 of whatever book you're reading, and that they are people, not just a number, and you're not just trying to get certain scores from these students, then I don't know. I just felt like that helped me recognize the impact that I could make if I allowed myself to build bonds with a lot of these students.
To not have to be so straight edge,
right,
and be more relatable.
And because you can be responsible and hold them to a certain standard, and whenever it's time to learn this lesson, like, we'll learn it. But there's enough time in the day to also show them that you're a human being, and that you can care and love for one another, and you can still do that in a responsible, mature way.
Yeah, that's boy, that I think that this is probably not discussed enough anywhere. But when you think about teachers and being like surrogate parents, seeing children on a daily basis, they're probably the most frequented person other than mom, dad, and whoever the parent figure is in the home. And the burden that you guys must start struggling with about grade 8 or maybe even 6, like, it's hard to think that in kindergarten somebody could be like really depressed, or like they would have figured it out to that extent. They might be hyper or whatever's going on, but starting at 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, it seems like as early as, kids are killing themselves, and it's like the fact that you had to make a decision to elevate it and potentially be perceived as blowing up this person's spot is super difficult.
Yeah.
That's always the difficult part. If you have people that confide in you thoughts that have to lead you to action, you're like, what do I can't sleep at night if I didn't do something and I get word in the morning that something occurred, Yeah,
man. Especially like, how old was I at my first year of teaching? I was 23, 24, definitely not as mature as I am now. I think I've done a lot of growing in the past 6 years. But just trying to be like, the mature person, and never having like dealt with some of the things that they were dealing with, and, trying to stay on top of that and make sure that they got the help that they needed. It was a lot of growing that I had to do within a very short amount of time as well, to ensure that, they felt heard and that they got the help that they needed.
It's hard from a species perspective, because first of all, it's sad that kids are depressed to this extent. Like, you think about depression as something that comes about after your childhood, after the fun of college
Mm-hmm.
and kind of initially doing your career, and then you're like, oh, life sucks, like taxes and death. And when people start to die at a higher level in your family, and you're like, oh, the buck stops with me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot of like just ownership that people have to shoulder that they don't want to have to shoulder.
Societal pressures or family
But the fact that kids are so depressed, it's like it's sad. And I wish that on the one hand, you wish that parents would be more in tune to it. On the other hand, maybe teachers are set up in society explicitly for this purpose as a third party objective source. And maybe some parents just aren't versed enough to deal with diagnosis or understanding of what's occurring.
Well, I mean, and I definitely think that is the case in some of these moments. But like I said, like this student even told their parents what was going on, and they were like, pray.
Well, that's
so I definitely think there are moments where they have no idea, and maybe, just the relationship that they have, the child wouldn't want to open up to their parents. They might be afraid of, I don't know. They might be afraid of something once they open up that can of worms. But I definitely have experience in talking to many students. This is just the first issue that I've ever had where I tried to help out a student. There's been many since then in the 6 years that I've been teaching. And I've learned that it goes both ways. Either they're too scared to open up to somebody else, or they have tried and nothing came from it.
Yeah. As it reaches younger demographics, you just have to wonder, like, I think our sense of purpose is totally devoid half the time because, again, it used to be try to remain pregnant from 16 to 24, essentially, so that you can try to produce enough boys to work the field,
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how humanity used to work. And now people want kids because they want kids. They don't need them.
Right.
Like they're not reliant on them even in their old age with all the services.
Yeah, I don't need any more, farm hands.
Just think about the traditional person that like went to Allen High, they went to Texas A&M, they got a degree, they got married at 25, 30, they go to the Katy Trail Ice House, they got a purebred dog, and the next accessory is like, well, all my friends are having children,
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't it be so fun to hang out with them and little Timmy? Like, that's how a lot of this starts in many ways. Plus, just like internal instinct in many cases. Mm-hmm. But there are so many. It's interesting. Like, a lot of people would say that people want families as an outpouring of love and a good situation that they're in. But many people I know many people that just want children, and it's almost like a transaction to get them. Like they need to find somebody this year because they're not going to be able to have children in 6 years.
Yeah, clock's ticking.
And it's
like you got to start dating now, so then you can get married in a year or two, or get engaged, then a year of engagement. And
it's just scary because you have this like child looking up at you like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Like, what do I need to do today? And it's like, oh, go to Zoom school. Well, why? Like, why am I here? What was needed? What is the common need that we're all kind of pushing against here? And it's like, no, I just wanted to have you. There's a billion people just like you, little Connor. You're nothing special. Like, I'm just.
That was my yearbook quote, by the way, from my senior year. You're unique like everyone else.
And I don't mean this morbidly like it sounds at all. I'm just saying that most of us have never seen where our food comes from. We've never had to build a fire. Mm-hmm. We've never had to like wire anything electrically or understand anything about the power grid. Like we don't know what we don't know. We know how to log in 3 clicks and do X, Y, and Z. But if the internet went out, how incapable do we suddenly get? Mm-hmm. You think that you're this mountain man, then the power goes out and you're like, oh my goodness, like I don't even have ways to, pass the time.
How do I send a letter?
Yeah. Like how many people would not be able to mail a package or go to the post office?
Write a check.
I can't write a check. I don't have checks. I've never had checks.
That's actually in my lesson plans. Like I teach that still. I know it's kind of obsolete at this point, but we spend like at least a class on it.
It just seems incredible to me the way that we educate people and just propagate the human race. Again, I know that there's going to be standouts among all of these people that, do further the species along and, discover the next big thing or whatever the case may be. But I'm thinking that it's hard to tell every child in the world an explicit purpose that they can harness in that moment and it scales with them to not question what's going on or depression or whatever.
Yeah.
I also think it's probably social media and body dysmorphia.
That plays a huge role into it for sure. Amount of, we've talked about it before, the amount of followers and likes you get and, always having to perform. It's insane. There's a lot of pressures a lot more pressures. We dealt with some pressures that our parents never had to. And I feel like this next generation is dealing with stuff that we never even had to. So it's getting crazy.
It's just it's still you. It's still your avatar. Like I reconnected with an old friend that I hadn't talked to in probably 10 years recently. And we kept feeling like we'd had a conversation in our 20s. Like, did we talk about this or was this just a series of posts and updates that were in my algorithm at the time? Like what platform was it? How do we feel like we have this ongoing conversation or knowledge of a person's whereabouts and doings to a certain extent?
Yeah.
And we track that over the years. Like we've had Facebook and all of this for 15 years at this point.
Yep.
So to watch behavior and how people interact with one another based on the information they see online versus people can't remember what they were told voice to voice from the person versus what they saw in an Instagram post as they were just scrolling through.
Yeah. Yeah. In the same vein as like posting and looking at like Facebook memories and stuff. Have you noticed, like, I don't know if you tend to look at your Facebook memories, but it seems like there's like different eras of the types of posts that I would make too. Do you notice that? Like
I never reference them.
So my oldest Facebook memories is a lot of me like posting lyrics to like whatever song I was listening to. The next one would be like, oh, chilling with Carson and tagging like, our location of where we're at. The next one would be like, I don't know, just observations or like me posting about sports or Bible verses or different things like that. And now like my recent memories are always just like, I don't know, typically just Instagram uploads of, like I don't know. I've just noticed different stages of how I post.
Well, I see what you're saying with that. I think that just naturally you get into these different modes.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to liken it to maturity, but I don't know.
Here's another thing I'll throw at you though.
Okay.
I do think that when you go back and you look at Facebook memories and user behavior on the platform from 10 years ago, we all look like complete dorks. Like we're just like chilling here with this person.
Yes, exactly.
So we have to remember that the prompts within the product that got us to generate those things. Like when Heston came onto the show and he was talking about, he'd showed us that thing where I'm just telling Chloe all about my day, like in a post.
Right.
And I got to think that it harvests it that way in the database and resurfaces it to me as a memory. But the like UI for the product, the prompts, like, what are you feeling right now? Or what's going on right now? Or whatever, that changes over time.
Yeah.
And also just the user behavior, like this is an like the whole reason we were checking in was to tell people where we were. Yeah. Because half the time, like you go back to those old posts and people are going back and forth in the comments about who can hook up with who and like, oh, I'll meet you over there. What are we using now for that?
Right.
Well, we're socially distanced. So we're
yeah, it's like Bradley Colvin and Carson Gibbons checked in at the men's dorm in Keene, Texas, via Foursquare. Do you remember Foursquare?
I do.
Yeah.
I was never as crazy about that. I think I had an account, but I wasn't checking in everywhere.
Yeah, same.
But then you had these like guys that would check in everywhere and like pride themselves on it. And I feel like a lot of them ended up being pretty ravenous Pokemon Go type guys as well.
What's the connection there?
I don't know. Yeah. Anywho. Bro, I'm so tuckered out. It's been a weekend and a half.
It was a birthday weekend for you. I was celebrating birthday. I think we did this episode justice.
Yeah, some down moments, but
yeah. So
it's gonna be all right.
Yeah, ready to bang the gavel, say court adjourned.
Yeah, I feel you on that. All right, happy Thanksgiving, Tots. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you up the week after Thanksgiving, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we are very grateful for all of you. Happy holidays. You are loved.
Bye-bye.